It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Dale McKee, good Tuesday to you. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great, doing great. High school football got started this past week for the most part. I guess, MAIS and Mississippi High School Activity Association are now all up and running, wide open. Interesting first week, and interesting night in War Eagle Stadium the other night in the stands. I got to address it. I've never quite, I have no comment. Well, you know what? I just want to ask you this, and how I'll just tell you, I was proud somebody in Wayne County stood up. That made me proud. Now, I don't know, but now sometimes you got to stand up for something, and I'm telling you, you're not going to talk about that at all, are you?
I have no comment.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I saw what you saw on film, so all I saw was video.
Yeah.
So I can't really
speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, what you see on the video, it does look, like one person was agitating and our fan base and stuff like this. Yeah. So, I understand that, but you still have to use some restraint, But I just hate it happen. I really did. Even though it made news in New York.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it was. To some people, yeah.
Oh.
But if you want to talk about last week's football, I've got one for you.
Give me one.
I saw a little upset, at least I thought it was an upset. Knox-Pater beat 91 for the first time in 10 years.
Is that right?
Knox-Pater beat 91 for the first time in 10 years. And I also saw where Louisville upset the King, West Point.
Now, I saw that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but now Louisville's got if anybody can match South Panola and West Point, probably it's them in terms of championships and stuff. They've won a lot of them, haven't they?
Yeah.
Through the decade.
Yeah, I would think Louisville's probably won more. But now poor West Point, they got to play Starkville this week.
They're off to a tough start. Starkville's going to be a tough out for anybody.
Yeah.
But
I think the biggest game this week in the state and statewide will probably be the Madison Central Brandon game. That's 1-2, and that's a replay of the 6A championship from last year.
Yeah. And the thing about that is, like you said, since it's a replay, one's on the south and one's on the north, so they can play right now. And I don't know if that was how long that game's been set up, but man, that's a great way. Man, that's a big deal.
They just cross the street from each other just about, or at least I-20. Yeah. And so, I was just looking at scores. You look at there and you see Laurel beating Meridian 20.
How about that running back?
Yeah, I'm just saying he's got a big old line running behind.
Well, you get 2 D1 linemen. That'll carry you a long way.
That sure will.
A long way.
And and they like to run the ball over there. So that was an impressive win, I thought.
Yeah.
And I saw where they ranked as high as 7th this morning in one of the polls that I saw. So and of course, Oak Grove comes in. They're ranked number 6, so they're coming in.
Well, Wayne County's ranked number 5 in the 5A poll on SB Live.
Yeah, they got a pretty good team.
Wayne County does.
Do you think we had any influence in that?
No, I didn't. I'm a man of no influence.
Well, we did talk. We talked to the guru, SB Live guru, Tyler Cleveland.
You bragged on us. He must have been listening.
Huh?
You bragged on us.
I have no comment.
Well, listen, let me give you one you can answer.
Okay.
Well, I hope you can, because if you can't, I don't know where we're going to get it. Tell us about tonight's guest.
Tonight's guest.
We do have a guest.
We do?
Okay. You are real.
Well, okay. Let's don't play this game. I ain't backfire on us. We're scheduled to have Mr. John Cox, the Hall of Fame USM football announcer. He's been doing it for 45 years. Wow. Doing USM football, baseball, and basketball. But he's going to talk to us more about football right now.
Okay.
Because it's football season.
That's right. That's right.
And we're going to find out about the Golden Eagles. We're going to find out, hopefully, a little bit about Liberty University.
Oh, boy. Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze
His crew
coming back. And, Hugh is a 92 graduate of USM.
92. Man, that seems like he that seems young.
Well, that means he's about 30, 52, 52
I
years
guess
old.
so,
That
man.
is young.
That is young for
That
me.
is young, yeah.
But anyway.
That is young.
Well, let's take a break here from our sponsor, and then we're going to get back here coming up in just a minute with John Cox of the Golden Eagles, and we'll be back with you right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, John Cox. How are you doing today, John?
Man, I'm doing great. I am excited about the start of another football season. Baseball was so much fun. About a day and a half after baseball was over, I was ready for football to start. So I'm excited. Football's right here and ready to go.
Well, that is fantastic. Well, how do you think Will Hall's second season is going to go?
Well, I think Will is doing it the right way. He's doing it, no quick fixes, trying to do it the right way, trying to do it the way that it's probably been done the way at Southern Miss for a long time. Draw that circle a couple hundred miles around Hattiesburg and, the state of Mississippi and lower Alabama into that Florida panhandle and on into Louisiana and find, those players that are meant to be at Southern Miss, guys that fit into the way Southern Miss has always done it, the way Will Hall wants to play football. So I'm excited. I think he's doing it the right way. I think he's got Southern Miss headed back in the right direction, and I'm excited to get it started and see what the Golden Eagles can do this year.
Well, that sounds great. What were your thoughts on Southern Miss going to the Sun Belt Conference?
Well, I think it's really good. I think it was a great decision. One, you have a lot of teams, that are within driving distance of Southern Miss. A lot of teams, Louisiana and into Alabama, and so I think it's great for our fans that our fans now will have a chance to go watch the Golden Eagles on the road. I think the fans of the other teams, for the most part, in the Sun Belt, will have a chance now to come to Hattiesburg. So that'll help at Hattiesburg to have that bigger crowds there at the Rock. So I think it was a great move. I think there's a lot of similarities between the teams in the Sun Belt and Southern Miss and the way we kind of approach things and, the way we all kind of try to do things. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think our fans are excited about it, at least the ones I've been around. They're excited to be in the Sun Belt, to face those Sun Belt teams. And so I think it's going to bring a lot of folks into the Rock this year. So I think a great move, and Jeremy McLean and the administrative staff here at Southern Miss has done a really good job to get the Eagles into the Sun Belt, and it's going to be a lot of fun this year.
Hey, I bet it is. Okay, now looking at the football here, you've got an East and a West, and as far as that, and so we do have a lot of we even have a lot of games. You're talking about recruiting on about 100 or 200 miles. You probably got some pretty good some smaller trips than going to El Paso and places like this year, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I love to travel, so from my standpoint, I enjoyed going to El Paso and San Antonio and some of the places. But if you're a fan of all the schools in the Sun Belt, I think it's a little more easier for you to go see your team play. From the Golden Eagles standpoint, I'm not looking at all the teams in there right now, but you got South Alabama, you've got Louisiana. You've got Louisiana Monroe. You got Troy. I mean, you can go on and on. The teams are within relatively easy distance of Hattiesburg, and so our fans can, a lot of them load up on a Friday and early Saturday morning, for that matter, and be at one of the Golden Eagle away games. So that's going to be a lot of fun. On top of that, I think there's really good football that's played in the Sun Belt, and all the sports really. There's a lot of great teams in the Sun Belt, but with football coming up, a lot of really good football teams. I think a lot of teams that sort of approach it the same way that Southern Miss does. And so I'm looking forward to some of those matchups. Some will be the renewal of old rivalries with teams in the Sun Belt, with Louisiana and Louisiana Monroe and some people like that. But also some new rivalries that will be started that I think will be really good for Southern Miss and Southern Miss football. So I'm excited about it. Again, I think it was a great move. I think there's probably more excitement around Southern Miss football than there's been in a long time. A lot of that, you give the credit to Will Hall. Will's done an amazing job of going out and talking to people all over this part of the state and all over the state, for that matter, into Louisiana and Alabama, talking Southern Miss football. So Will's done a really good job of getting people rejuvenated, excited about the prospects of Southern Miss football, and then you bring in some of those old rivals like that. So that's why I think there's a lot of excitement about what's going on.
Well, listen, a few years ago when we were, Southern Miss was in Conference USA, they used to have a long-standing rivalry with Memphis. And so when Memphis and them kind of bolted from Conference USA, we lost that black and blue game, as they used to call it at one time. I think that was the name of it. But looking at the schedule, it was kind of sad not to see a Louisiana Tech on there for the first time in I don't know how many years, So, that's the thing about changing conferences. What are your thoughts on all these changing of conferences?
Well, some of them don't make a lot of sense. I think the Sun Belt makes sense because from a geography standpoint, you've got a lot of teams that are similar, but you got a lot of teams that are very close to each other, and so you can continue some rivalries, but create some new ones as well. Around the country, though, some of them, when I see some of the teams that are moving from this conference to another or that conference to another, a lot of that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, But I think from the Southern Miss standpoint, from the Sun Belt standpoint, this makes sense. And I think if you talk to people all over the country, they'll tell you this makes sense. A lot of, as I said, some older rivalries that are in the Sun Belt now for Southern Miss that will renew again. Others will be brand new, but I think with the success some of those other teams have had and the success that Southern Miss has in their history, that it'll start some new rivalries there. So again, I can't explain some of the changes around the country with some of the rivalries and some of the changes to conferences and things like that, but I do know the Sun Belt makes sense, and it's going to be great for Southern Miss.
John, this is Marshall Wood, and I thank you for being with us today. I was going to ask you about our opener coming up, and I want to say this: I'm a USM grad, and I'm so excited about what's going on. Like those people you were talking about earlier, and I'm all pumped up and ready to go. A great way to start this year off, coming up here pretty quick this weekend. Tell us a little bit about this opener.
Well, Liberty's really, really good. I mean, there's no question about it. And, they've gone about it, doing it kind of the same way. Hugh Freeze, who's a Southern Miss grad, and, of course, we know him from his days of being the head coach up at Ole Miss, has done an incredible job of kind of taking that program and really put them on the national map. And he's done it, again, by, recruiting maybe a lot of folks that some schools didn't want, but he knew they were good players, and they brought them in there to Liberty. So I'm excited about it. We went up there a couple of years ago to play Liberty up there, and didn't fare very well. But he's going to bowl games. He's winning a lot of ball games. It's a team that won 8 ball games last year. They won 10 games the year before, so that's 8. They're 18-6 over the last 2 years, and they were a talented club. They brought in a lot of young guys. They brought in some graduate transfers. They brought in some portal guys like everybody's doing nowadays. But it's going to be a big test, and I think it's going to be a great battle between the Golden Eagles and Liberty on Saturday. Saturday. I'm anxious for it to get here, but Eagles going to have to play well because, again, Liberty's a team that has got a lot of talented guys. They like to throw the ball around. They've got a really good defensive football team. So Eagles will have their hands full on Saturday against Liberty, but it's going to be a great atmosphere in the Rock, and I'm looking forward to that one on Saturday.
Well, listen, I know that you announced back in the day when Bobby Collins was in Hattiesburg, and that was a great time for USM football for sure. It was kind of like a rebirth of their Division I, getting into Division I. But you've seen some great quarterbacks down there, Reggie Collier, Brett Favre, Austin Davis, Nick Mullins. They've had some great ones, and every time they've had a great quarterback, they seem to win, or at least have a lot of success. So,
yeah, that's the key. You got to have, if you're a baseball team, you got to have a good starting pitcher. If you're a basketball team, you got to have that guy that can, their go-to guy. Football, it all seems, particularly nowadays, it all seems to revolve right there around the quarterback. You've got to have that guy back there that can, make things happen. And nowadays, you got to have one who's kind of a dual threat guy. A guy can throw the ball. You can have a guy who can run the football back there at quarterback. So the role of the quarterback's changed a little bit, but he is still kind of the go-to guy. And I'm excited about what we've got at Southern Miss, starting with, Ty Keys, young man who out of Mississippi guy and not too far away from Hattiesburg, and he's going to be the starter for the Golden Eagles on Saturday. And he's the guy Will Hall is going to give the ball to, a guy who got hurt last year like a lot of the quarterbacks did here at Southern Miss, but Ty's been really impressive in the preseason practices and things that I've seen. I've seen him practice, I guess, every day since they've started. So I'm excited about that young man and what he can bring to Southern Miss, and he can stay healthy. He's got a chance to really make some things happen as both a runner and a passer for the Golden Eagles. But, you got to have that guy back there that can make things happen at that quarterback spot. And, Ty Keys is that kind of guy. Trey Lowe, who also played last year but got hurt, is the number 2 guy right now. Zach Wilkie, true freshman out of Hernando, is the number 3 guy there at quarterback. So that's a talented group there of quarterbacks that the Golden Eagles will have available this year.
well, listen, I know not many people have ever experienced what USM went through last year with the quarterbacks, but that must have been really, really difficult for the coaching staff and even you as an announcer, like, who's going to play quarterback this week, How many did USM go through in the end? 6, 7, 8, 9? I can't remember. It was, it was unbelievable.
Well, I tell you, that to me showed me what the kind of coach that Will Hall is. With all those injuries, he found a way with his super backs that he used, and he turned some guys back in there to run the ball but throw the ball as well. And I thought, the Eagles were able to play pretty well down the stretch and win a couple of ball games, and I think that just shows the kind of coach Will is he took the players that he had. He found a way. He had to change some things up a little bit, but he found a way to put them in a position where the Golden Eagles could win there towards the end of the year. And so, we'll see some of that this year, I think. Some of that super back offense that the Golden Eagles used last year, and with guys like Antavius Willis and Chandler Pittman and some of those guys that played that super back spot. It was tough to lose those quarterbacks, those guys that got hurt. But I thought it really showed the kind of coach that Will was, that he took the guys that he had, found a way to put them on the field and put them in a position to give this team a chance to win late in the year, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, you mentioned earlier about the transfer portal, and I think they were rated probably the number 1 team in conference. In the Sun Belt Conference. I wanted to say Conference USA again, but I better stop that after 30-something years. But in the Sun Belt. But you watch in practice every day. Can you see the increase in talent on the roster?
Oh yeah, there's no question. There's no question about it. I don't know what the exact number is, to be honest with you, of guys that have come in from other places. But again, when you start looking at the roster, you see a lot of guys that, and as I watch them in practice, that are guys that were somewhere else a year ago, but they're a Golden Eagle now, and we'll see a lot of those guys play on both sides of the ball for the Golden Eagles. But I think the Golden Eagles, again, we're looking for guys that could come in and play the way that Will Hall wants to play, guys that I think Will knew could fit into the Southern Miss atmosphere, the Southern Miss way of playing football. And so I think the fans will see a lot of new faces out there on the field, both offensively and defensively, for the Golden Eagles. And some of those guys will be familiar names to some of our fans because they were young men who played at schools around the state of Mississippi or within that 80 or 90-mile circle of Hattiesburg. So it'll be a lot of fun. They've done a great job of fixing this roster a little bit. It was a team that didn't have a lot of scholarship guys last year, but they've got a full complement of guys now. So I think the fans are going to be excited. And I think, when you bring in those guys from within that 80 or 90-mile radius of Hattiesburg, they bring the fans with them, too. They want to watch those guys play that they saw play in junior college or high school. So I think it's a roster now that's a lot more complete than it was a year ago. A lot of talent on this roster, and going to be a lot of fun to watch this year.
John, I want to flip the script on us just a little bit, and we're going to talk about you for a second. I've been easy now.
You've run out of topics, then, if you come to that one.
Now, I'd like talk to us a little bit about what a week in your life during the football season is like. I mean, the things that you have to do, the things that you go through and have to plan for on a weekly basis.
Yeah, well, I'll just for this week as example. I'll do. In fact, I'm sitting here. I'm looking at a list I got in front of me. I'll do about 8 or 9 different interviews during the course of the week with players and assistant coaches to prepare for our broadcast, and some of the things we do during the course of the broadcast with some of those interviews. But I will, of course, I'm in practice every day, so I get to see a little bit of what they're doing every day. I'll sit down during the course of the week along with Lee Roberts, who works with me, and we'll sit down with Coach Hall and go over a lot of the things that he's going to try to do and how they plan on attacking Liberty a little bit, and also with Austin Armstrong, who's the defensive coordinator, and so we'll talk with him during the course of the week. There's a lot of preparation, getting your spotting charts ready, and doing a lot of things. I'll talk to all the coaches at some point during the course of the week, even guys that won't be a part of our pregame show or part of our broadcast. But a lot of studying goes in. I don't know how many hours we put in, but quite a few to try to prepare yourself as best you can, not only with your team, but the harder part sometimes is to prepare yourself for the visiting team, a team that you're not all that familiar with. I'm around our guys and our coaches all the time, but the other team comes in there, and that's a short kind of turnaround to try to prepare yourself for what they're going to do and familiarizing yourself with their guys and what they do and where they come from and things like that. So the large majority, particularly in football, I'd say the large majority of the week is spent, the majority of the working days are spent kind of working on your team and the other team and trying to get yourself as prepared for everything as you can, that what you might see on a Saturday. So most of the day is probably spent doing that, getting ready for the game and preparing yourself and familiarizing yourself with what the other team is going to do and what you think your team is going to do. So, but I never look at it as work. I don't think I've ever worked a day in my life. I mean, gosh, who could? How lucky could you be that your life is surrounded around a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game? It's what I've wanted to do since as long as I can remember. Since I was about 5 years old, that's all I wanted to do. Grew up outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, and I grew up in a town called Middletown, Ohio. That was one of those places kind of like Hoosiers where the people, your mom and dad picked you up at school on a Friday, and you went to where your high school was playing, and same with basketball. And I listened to the guy who did the games on the radio. His name was Warren Johnson. He did all the games for, Middletown for all those years, and so that's what I wanted to do since I was about 5 years old. So hard to believe that you get to do it, and they actually pay you for it. So couldn't be a better job in the world than that.
That's great. I know that what a blessing it's been, and what a great run you're in the middle. Let's say you're in the middle of, John. You're in the middle of.
Yeah. Well, I tell you the truth, guys. I love it. It sounds crazy, and I tell people this all the time. I love it more now than I probably did 30 or 40 years ago. I love it more every year. I love it more every time that I sit down and get lucky enough to put that headset on. So I couldn't think of doing anything else. I love Southern Miss and love the fact that I get to be the guy who tells that story each week.
Well, you do a wonderful job at that. You're greatly appreciated, and you can tell your love and your excitement and your passion for what you do. It comes across, and it's coming across now, and it comes across on a weekly basis during the season. Unfortunately, John, we're out of time here for our little show today, so we're going to we appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much. We're going to ask you to hang on. We're going to do our little close out here. Hang on. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. We're going to take a break to hear from some of our sponsors and be back with the final segment of the Brouhaha right after this word.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. I tell you what, I'm a Southern fan. You know it. John Cox, what an interview. What a great guy. What a guy that loves what he does. And now it's your turn to talk.
Oh, I'm supposed to talk now? No, I tell you what, I've listened to him, I guess, since day one when he took over down at USM, and he's done a great job. Yeah. He really has. And, he's good at all the sports. I mean, he's good at football, but just thinking about it, going through that list, Reggie Collier, probably one of the best athletes I've ever seen at quarterback. Yeah. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with you.
Brett Favre.
Yeah.
I remember that pass he did against East Carolina or somebody. They said that one of the receivers was catching a touchdown pass in the last seconds of the game. He said, I heard the sound of the ball coming toward me.
I remember that.
I heard the sound of the ball coming toward me, I mean, and he's got to do that. And then he saw, a very consistent Austin Davis, Nick Mullins, he's had some, really, I know USM's had some great coaches, but you got to go back to Bobby Collins, he's, to me, he's fair, but Will Hall is in the same mode as Bobby Collins. Yeah. It took him some time to get to Division I head coaching, 20 years of, being on the, smaller schools and being an offensive coordinators at several schools. So I think Will's going to get it together. And, of course, Waynesboro is real familiar with the Hall name because Bobby used to coach here. So, and he's had a lot of – Bobby kind of turned our program around, really, 20 years ago, what it was. So I think it's good. I think they're going to do a great job. And like I said, we really appreciate John coming on. Because John's one of the best. Yeah. I mean, if you keep any job for 45 years, you must be pretty good.
Yeah. And you know what? He said he wanted to do it since he was 5.
That's amazing.
I'm 65, still trying to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yep.
Can you help me a little bit?
I don't know.
Let's talk right quick about we talked about Southern's game starting up, and now Southern's got a prospective war coming up. Saturday. Mississippi State looks like they could be in for a good skirmish with the Tigers, from Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Now, Ole Miss, I'm just going to say it, they should cruise. I mean, they really should. So, but now our other two, Southern and State, that should be some really good football.
Well, I think going back to the Ole Miss game for just a second, because like you said, I think Ole Miss is about a 3-touchdown favorite. Yeah. But I think everybody just wants to know who the quarterback is up there, and I don't think they care about anything else.
Lane knows.
State kind of got a revenge game a little bit last year. They had that supposedly refs should have, I don't know, blown a punt dead or something, and it didn't. The guy picked it up and ran 90 yards, and basically Mississippi State let that bug them the whole game. Ended up getting beat 2 points in the end. And I think Southern is, like John said, they probably got their hands full of it. It's a very good team. Coach Freeze has got a transfer from Baylor, and they say he's pretty good.
Quarterback.
Yeah, so he's got thrown about 11,000 yards in his career. They got a linebacker out of Mississippi Gulf Coast, middle linebacker that they're really high on. So they're going to be, and I heard they're real talented wide receiver again. So, and anytime you got a guy that can push the ball down the field and you got some good wideouts, you can be explosive. You can be explosive. So Southern will have their hands full, and I think they'll have their hands full when they go to Miami the next week, only because of the talent level.
We're about out of time. Quick question. Who's going to be the starting quarterback for Ole Miss? Just pick it.
Well, I don't really know what Kiffin's going to do. I don't know what goes on in that little head of his. But all I can tell you is if it was me, I would give it to the guy that was with me last year to start with and let him lose the job.
Okay.
Just let him lose it. And that would be Luke Altmaier.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going on in practice. And this Jackson
Dart,
he may be the second coming to Archie Manning. I have no idea. I don't think so. There's only one Archie, but,
Well, Dale, our time has come to an end. We want to again thank John for being with us tonight. Greatly appreciated. We want to thank our listeners for being with us as well. Remember that you can follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha and on our YouTube channel at, that's right, the Brouhaha. And be sure to tune in next week, same Brouhaha time, same Brouhaha channel. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we will see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Take us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.